How's it going, Across the Bifrost listeners? This is Ryan here, and I'm just dropping this in as a little bit of bonus content that I had talked about on our Facebook group a little bit ago regarding the recent Eternals movie that I was happy enough to see, I think maybe about a week ago, as this recording is being posted. So this is a little bit of just an off the cuff. I just wanted to sit down and talk with you all about my thoughts on the Eternals movie, but also Thor's relationship with some characters that are prominent in the Eternals movie, namely the Eternals themselves, ACROSS, Circe, Ajax, the whole gang. But then also, one of my favorite, lesser known, I think underappreciated characters in Marvel Comics, and that is Dane Whitman, the Black Knight. I love Dane Whitman. I think he's just a really cool, older designed character, because he's obviously, meant to look like an Arthurian, knight in shining armor kind of hero. And he just a very interesting kind of fish out of water kind of character, because he's carrying around a sword, he's decked out in armor, and he's fighting in modern times when it comes to comics. So I just like kind of the silliness of the character and just kind of the vibe that Dane Whitman gives off. So I'm just gonna share some thoughts about those characters and how they relate to Thor, how I've seen them show up in Thor's stories, and then I'll share a little bit about the Eternals movie. And hopefully this, small little bit of bonus content is enjoyable and you can get something out of this. If you've seen the movie, I would love to hear your thoughts on our social media. You can follow us at Mighty Thor Podcast on Instagram, or go to our Facebook group and you can share your thoughts about the Eternals movie there. And you can even share your thoughts about these characters. What do you like about the Black Knight? What do you think about the Eternals? Things like that. So starting off with the Eternals and just kind of how they came to be. I mean, really, the Eternals are a brainchild of famous Marvel creator Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby was known for drawing them once he came back to Marvel on his second stint with the company. And the original Eternals run didn't last all that long, and truthfully, I'm not sure why it was discontinued. Maybe it was a lack of sales. I know that oftentimes comics are canceled because they're just not selling well. And I have heard criticisms in the past of Jack Kirby's writing style. He's very well known as an artist, but not as lauded and praised for his writing. So maybe that contributed to it. And hey, if you know why the original run of Eternals comics came to an end, I mean, please share that with me. Share that information with us, on social media in our groups, or, even leave a review here on this bonus episode. Let us know if you have some information. I would really love to learn more about why the original run of Eternals comics did not last as long as maybe some people thought they should have. But after the original run ended, there's kind of a little bit of a drought there for the Eternals when it came to being in titles more consistently. It wasn't until on the Mighty Thor book that Roy Thomas brought back the Eternals, and it was towards the end of, it would have been issues in the 280s. And I'm actually going to check on that as I'm on here. These bonus episodes are super uncut and very rudimentary. So you're just getting Ryan talking about comics here, very off script here. So it wasn't until 1979 that Roy Thomas and penciler John Buscema brought back Jack Kirby's creations, the Eternals, and made them an integral part of the Thor book for the next 20 plus issues. They were featured in an annual, and they were also featured in 20 or so issues of Thor as a part of something called the Celestials saga, where Thor has to go throughout the entire universe and get answers to questions that Odin just won't give him. And there's lots and lots of different pantheons and gods who are encountered along the journey. And then, of course, the Celestials show up, and they are going to pronounce judgment on the earth. And Thor has to team up with the other pantheons and the Eternals, and he has to push back these celestial threats. So there's a lot of great artwork in there. There's a lot of great Roy Thomas storytelling. And that storyline wraps up, I believe, at issue 300 of Thor. And that is written by author Mark Grunwald. So there's a lot going on in the Thor book that's related to the Celestials and the Eternals and the Deviants. And, you know, the late 70s, early 80s was really a heyday for Thor in interacting with the Eternals. So if you want to get a lot of good Thor storytelling with the Eternals involved, I would go to those, you know, those 280s, 290s issues of Thor and really dig into his interactions with those characters. You'll see, you know, familiar names like Icarus in there and Ajax and most of the ones that you've seen in the movie, if you've seen the movie. But that's just a great place to get going with Thor and his relationships to those characters. You know, in recent years, it's been a little more spotty because the Eternals haven't really had their own books. I know a few years back, oh gosh, maybe even 10 years plus back, Neil Gaiman, a very famous comic book writer, wrote a Eternals series, and that's something actually I want to, you know, go back and read. I think that would be a lot of fun to go and read. But I know there's a recent series of the Eternals going on right now, and I'm not sure who is writing that, but you know, you can never go wrong with Neil Gaiman's storytelling. If you want to check out a more recent, you know, a more recent take on the Eternals characters, I would definitely give the Neil Gaiman series a shot. In fact, there's another great podcast that I just feel like I need to shout out here because they just do so much great work, and they actually specialize in this style of information where they prepare you for movies before you go to them, and that is the Source Pages podcast. They do a great job over there at preparing people to just go to see movies and give them some background material before they go in. I know that they've done stuff for recent Marvel movies like The Eternals, like Shang-Chi, like Black Widow, and they actually have done some Dune stuff. So if you're wanting to go check out the Dune movie, they went back and they did a review of the novel all the way back in 1965. And then they've also done retrospectives of some of the recent Disney Plus shows. So if you want more information about the Eternals and where to learn more about them, go to the Source Pages podcast. They do a great job over there. And I just know that you would really value the input that they give when it comes to these comics and these characters. So the Eternals have some great lineage and some great roots in Thor comics. So I would definitely go check that out. Go check out Source Pages. And also, let's move a little bit over to the Black Knight aspect of the Eternals movie and Dane Whitman's history with Thor. So Dane Whitman, the Black Knight, is like I said, he's a favorite of mine, and he's really played some interesting roles in Marvel Comics. He's probably not the first, he's probably not the first character that people think of when they're like, oh, who's a great, like a headliner Marvel superhero. The Black Knight is probably not one that comes maybe in the top 10 or top 15, but I think he's a character that's worth checking out because his origin and his backstory is so unique compared to a lot of the heroes that you may know, like Spider-Man and the Hulk and even our guy Thor, Captain America, Iron Man. The Black Knight definitely deserves a spot, some consideration when it comes to checking out books that he's involved with, because I think what needs to be said about him is that he's played an important role without being the headliner. So he's a member of the Avengers, and that is the first place that he shows up. Dane Whitman's version of the Black Knight shows up, makes his first appearance in Avengers number 47, also written by Roy Thomas, who was instrumental in bringing the Eternals into the Thor book in the late 70s and early 80s. Roy Thomas created Dane Whitman alongside John Buscema, who was the penciler at the time. They were working on the Avengers book. Dane has been a part of so many different teams, the Avengers, the Defenders, the Heroes for Hire with Luke Cage and Iron Fist. He fits in a lot of different places, especially, which is weird because he's a character that looks like he wouldn't fit in many places. Again, he's a guy fighting with a sword, and he's wearing a suit of armor. He has a flying horse. If you want to see some hokey comics, goodness, the Black Knight is not short on hokey things. He has a robot horse at times, and that's just odd and kind of cool. But Dane really has had a up and down history in comics. I feel like he's been almost everywhere, and that's why I think he's worth your consideration, because when you look into the history of the Black Knight, you're gonna see a character who pops up in a lot of fun and interesting places. There was recently, within the last year, I believe, there was a limited series that Marvel put out, written by Cy Spurrier, called The Black Knight, The Curse of the Ebony Blade. And if you are interested in checking out a great 5-issue limited series that breaks down some of the deeper themes of the Black Knight, I would strongly encourage you to check out The Curse of the Ebony Blade. It's a continuity kind of twist on why the Black Knight is the way he is, and also the deeper implications of his principal weapon, the Ebony Blade. So check out that series. Also, as a part of that series, in issue 3 of that, you get to see an awesome fight between the original Black Knight, Sir Percy of Scandia, who is the ancestral guardian of the Black Knight moniker, and he appears to Dane in the Curse of the Ebony Blade limited series as a ghost to help him out and figure out the mystery around the sword. But in that 3rd issue, we see a flashback fight between Sir Percy of Scandia as the Black Knight and a young Thor. The fight lasts for a few pages, and you get to just see an awesome conflict between Thor as a younger god. He is not yet risen to be an Avenger yet, because this is like taking place in King Arthur times. But they go to town. They fight. Thor is trying to uncover the darkness underneath Camelot, which you learn a lot more about in the rest of the limited series. And Sir Percy, as the Black Knight, is the defender of Camelot, and they're just, they're both strong-willed, and they both have a mission to accomplish. And the Black Knight actually gets the better of Thor in that issue. After he's able to knock him out with the powers of the Ebony Blade. There's a big blast, and Thor is knocked unconscious. And actually, to make the story a little bit even weirder, Merlin, the famed wizard of Camelot, and counselor to the legendary King Arthur, he erases Thor's mind of any memory of Camelot. So when Thor wakes back up, he has no clue that the Black Knight has defeated him. So check out that limited series, especially issue 3 of that limited series where Thor takes on the Black Knight. So we talked about kind of Thor's history with the Eternals and the Celestials and the Deviants by extension, and also some of his interactions that he's had with Dane Whitman. They were also members of the Avengers together, so they've gone on many different battles and they've gone on many different adventures together. So, if you want to just check out a random issue of Avengers from the 80s and the 70s, my goodness, there's a good chance that Thor and Dane will be on that team together, and you might get to see them kick some robot butt or some alien butt together. They were teammates, like I said, on the Avengers, so they've definitely had their fair share of adventures together. So all of that being said, I wanted to give you my thoughts on the recent Eternals movie. So going into Eternals, I can remember a few years back when they announced this movie, I was like, okay, I know very little about these characters. And that's okay, because I'm not an expert. I would never be so bold to say that I'm an expert, but I am a fan who kind of sat there and scratched his head. I was like, okay, how are they going to do this? And I know that the way they were setting up this movie, there was a lot of questions around, why haven't the if the Eternals are these awesome superheroes, why haven't they interacted, when Thanos was a problem, when Ultron was a problem, when all these different threats were cropping up on Earth, why didn't the Eternals step in and do anything? And they resolved that tension in the movie, and I'll try to spoil as little as possible, with maybe one exception. One thing that I definitely have to spoil, but I'll give you a heads up so that you're not caught off guard by that in case you haven't seen the movie. But the movie really does a great job of getting you to care about these characters, at least some of the principal Eternals members. It really gets you to care about these characters because they're kind of plucked out of the blue. We have no previous knowledge of them in the MCU. They're not really hinted at. They're not, they don't even show up in a post-credit scene for us to kind of get a little bit of a taste of. So we're going into this movie kind of cold, and right away this movie feels epic, it feels big, and it spans centuries. So we see snapshots of their interactions in ancient Mesopotamia, in ancient Central American culture. They are helping humanity evolve, and they're trying to protect them as it goes along from the deviants, and they've gotten this mandate from the Celestials. The Celestials are creating planets out of the energy that a celestial being born provides. So the Celestials have this this overarching plan of how they're going to expand the universe, and the Eternals are a part of that plan, and you learn more about that in the movie. I really loved the casting in this movie. I mean, you have just such rock star names. Angelina Jolie as Athena, Selma Hayek as Ajak, just fantastic casting that those ladies do. Just a great job at bringing some gravitas to those characters and bringing some worth to them right away. Because again, they're probably not characters that people know really, really well if you're not a deep comic book reader. But then also, you get such great performances out of Gemma Chan as Cersei, I think she steals the movie. If after you watch the movie, you really understand that it's Cersei's movie. Cersei is the point of view character that is most front and center. And Gemma Chan does an amazing job at really, how do I say this? Embodying the tension between what it means to be, a citizen of Earth, as she's, become over these centuries of living amongst the people of Earth, and her duty as an Eternal to the mandate the Celestials have given them. She really brings out that tension really, really well. And I think that if you go to the Eternals movie and you're looking for a great acting performance, Gemma Chan provides that as Cersei. Another great performance, Richard Madden. Now, I have been a fan of Richard Madden since Game of Thrones, which most people, that's the thing that you will know him from best. And Robb Stark, Richard Madden is Robb Stark. I mean, Robb Stark was my guy in seasons 1 and 2. He was my guy. And then the Red Wedding happened, and oh my gosh, I lost my mind. I was so beside myself because I loved him as Robb Stark. And when I heard that he was getting cast as Icarus, I thought, oh my goodness, if Richard Madden can't play Superman, then Icarus is probably the next best thing. So him as Icarus was just great. He was very cold and very calculated, and that led to some really great humorous moments, playing off of his coldness and his calculated nature, but also it made him an interesting tension point with the rest of the Eternals. And again, if you haven't seen the movie, I will not spoil anything, but Icarus plays a very integral part in the conclusion. And I know he's been front and center with a lot of the marketing, rightly so. Icarus is a prime leader of the Eternals in most of their iterations, so it would make sense for him to be front and center. I think also, and I will try not to go too long on just my love of this actor and the character, but Kit Harington is phenomenal as Dane Whitman. I'll just be honest, he does a lot to endear us to a character that we don't even get to see in his full blossom in this film. I mean, Kit Harington really does the most with the least amount of screen time until we get to that the thing that I am going to spoil for you at the end of this talk about the movie. And the rest of the cast is just, honestly, it's padded with some great actors that I didn't know beforehand, and some others that I've seen in smaller roles, like Brian Tyree Henry as Festus. Fantastic, just awesome. And I believe Don Lee is his name, the actor who plays Gilgamesh. I mean, he did such a great job. And a lot of people have really given a lot of credit to the how do I say this? The portrayal of Makari has just been received so well. The actress who has played her, I believe her name is Lauren Ridloff. She's a deaf actress who is signing and through this whole movie, and she's just emoting so well, and she does such a great job at bringing Makari to life on screen. She was just phenomenal, and the rest of the cast was great as well. I thought they cast the Eternals very, very well. And then let's get to some spoiler stuff. The post-credit scenes. Harry Styles shows up as Star Fox, the brother of Thanos. ACROSS is his name, and he shows up in the mid-credit scene, I guess is what most people call it, as Star Fox. And I thought, my goodness, you could not have gotten someone to play this role who looks more like the comic book character. I mean, seriously, it looks like Harry Styles walked right out of a comic book. And I know he's more known for being a singer and an awesome, awesome performer in that area. But I truly believe he is going to just rock this role as Star Fox. I'm really, really happy with the casting there, and I think Marvel fans are going to be pleasantly surprised at what that man can bring to the role of again, another character that maybe not a lot of people know. So the post credit scene was my favorite part of the entire movie. My favorite part of the entire movie. If you were going to give me a choice, would you rather go see an Eternals movie or would you rather go see a Black Knight movie? I probably would have said Black Knight. I really love the character of Dane Whitman. I love Black Knight, and I just think, that character is awesome. And that's why the post-credit scene was so just killer for me. I actually, as the credits were rolling, I leaned over to my wife and kind of the group we were with, and I said, before the scene had even started, I said, if Dane Whitman holds the ebony blade at the end of this movie, I will, cheer and giggle and, do jumping jacks and all crazy kind of stuff. I said, if that happens, it'll be the best part of the movie. So we come into a study, and there's a box on the table, and Kit Harington is right there. And I see the long box. It's sword length. And I said, oh my gosh, it's the ebony blade. It's the ebony blade. It's the ebony blade. And I'm standing up in the theater. Everybody else is sitting down. There's a few other people in the theater, and I'm standing off to the side, and I'm just like, I'm shaking with excitement because I love this character, and I love this legendary weapon that he holds as well. Then he opens up the case, and you see the ebony blade right there sprawled out, and it's wrapped up, and the blade is kind of moving, almost like the Venom symbiote. It's moving, and it has life to it. And Dane reaches down to touch it, and you hear a voice that says, essentially, I don't think you're ready for it. And I was like, who's the voice? Who's that voice? I thought maybe that it was another Black Knight, version of the Black Knight, maybe Nathan Garrett, who is another a Black Knight in Marvel Comics. Come to find out, it's Mahershala Ali, who is going to be playing Blade. So now we know that Blade and the Black Knight know each other, or they are at least involved in some form of a story. So that post-credit scene blew my mind. I'm so excited to see the Black Knight return. I'm so excited to see when Blade shows up. There's so much going on in the Marvel Cinematic Universe right now. And I just, I loved the movie a lot. It was fantastic. And without spoiling things for you too much, I think Eternals is worth your money. It is a weighty movie. It is lengthy. It's the second longest Marvel movie next to Endgame, of course. And Endgame was forever long. So I think Eternals clocks in a little bit over 2.5 hours. But it's just a great thrill ride. It's a great story. I described it to the friends that my wife and I went with as a love story. The Eternals is a love story. It's every different character in the Eternals lineup has a specific love story that the director, Chloe Zhao, and the writers were trying to tell through them. So if you go to Eternals, it's a superhero love story, both a love for humanity, a love for each other, a love of family, a romantic love, unrequited love, which is an interesting subplot in there. But I truly believe Eternals is worth your money. You should go see it. It's just a fantastic film. So we hope to do more of these reviews coming up when other titles come out, such as the new Spider-Man movie that's going to be hitting theaters in December, more things like Doctor Strange, maybe the Hawkeye series, but always bringing it back to how does this relate to Thor? How does this relate to his world? And luckily, the Eternals and the Black Knight are such they really show up a lot in Thor stories or in Avengers titles that Thor is also in. So those characters definitely have had their run-ins with the God of Thunder. And I just wanted to let you know what I thought about the movie and what I thought about the characters and how they relate to our favorite character, the God of Thunder. I will put some suggested readings on our social media as it pertains to these characters and just, the interactions they've had with Thor, if you want to give those a read. I hope you enjoyed this bonus episode. I hope to do more of these when they're appropriate and when I feel like additional content is wanted or warranted when it comes to other things that are going on in the world of Marvel Comics. So, friends, until we see you next time aboard the Rainbow Bridge, I remind you, please stay worthy.